Welcome everyone, my name's Gaynor from FitFish, and in this video I'd love to talk to you about the one thing that must happen for healthy habits to happen. So the one thing that you definitely need for healthy habits to happen. Now this morning I had a shower and I put on some, have you seen that in shower moisturizer that you can put on as soon as you've had a shower before you dry yourself? So I put some of that on this morning. And also this morning I had some oats and some granola with no seeds added on the top. So why am I telling you these two things? Well, they both have something that is in common. Well, almost not in common actually, because the first one had a cue and the second one didn't. So after a shower at the moment, I like to moisturize my skin. I do this what I would say was if I remember. But actually what I mean really, if I think about it, is I do this if I see the moisturizer in the shower. I do it. I'm like, oh, when I'm finished, I'll do that. If I don't see it, if the bottle has been moved somewhere else, I don't see it, I'll often get out of the shower and I'll go into my room and I'll get changed, put my clothes on and think, didn't moisturize. Can't be bothered now. So what happens is I do it if I see the moisturizer in the shower. I don't do it if I don't. And similarly with the cereal. So when I have cereal or when I have porridge, ideally I like to put on a teaspoon or maybe a tablespoon of mixed seeds. Now that only happens if I see the jar or the packet of mixed seeds. If I don't, I usually forget. Sometimes I may remember and I'll see my cereal and think, oh, something looks different, I'll go back to get it. But in general, what happens is if again it's been moved and I don't see it, it doesn't happen. So why am I telling you these two things? Because today I want to talk to you about that one thing that you need for healthy habits to happen, which is a cue. Now, everything that you do, every habit that you have has a cue, and you might not think it does. You might think that some of your habits, good or bad, are so ingrained that there is no cue. But you'll be surprised. Actually, there is always a clue, but some cue, not a clue, but sometimes it has become invisible and it happens so fast and so under the surface that you don't notice. So the first thing when we want to change our habits or to start new habits is to bring these things to the surface and realize that there is always a cue. The brain is a very good detection machine, and basically what it's doing all the time is trying to solve problems and find solutions. So it will get to the place where it says, if that happens, then this happens, and that's a solution, that's a result. And that's not necessarily a healthy habit, that could be an unhealthy habit too, but your brain thinks, that's a solution, we'll do that again. Old habits can become ingrained, we know that, and we might feel that there really isn't a cue, they're so automatic. And it's difficult to change them sometimes because the cues are actually still there. So have you ever got into a car and not really thought too much, and you're driving and you go past where you're meant to be going because you're sticking to a route that you're really familiar with, something that's really familiar? It might be the school run, it might be your drive to work. So on a weekend when you drive somewhere else, maybe you drive to church or drive to a friend's house, sometimes you might find yourself driving to work or driving to school because that's so familiar, and there's so many cues along the route which send you in that direction that you've got so used to. I was reading about someone who used to work with primary school children and now works in an office on reception. And even now, sometimes she finds herself asking people as they come out of the toilet if they've washed their hands because it's such an old and engraved habit. And perhaps you've got some funny stories of when you've just done something completely on autopilot. I'd love to hear them. Let's cheer each other up. And what have you done on autopilot that's just so ingrained that even though you didn't mean to do it, you did it? So there's all kinds of cues that our brain uses. And two of the most obvious ones that we can use in our favor are when and where. When you do this and where you do this. So when you're trying to ingrain a new healthy habit, do you just say, I would like to exercise more, I'm going to exercise more? Or do you have a plan and know when and where it's going to happen? Because those are two of the strongest cues. When you are here, that will happen at this time. So if you write something into your diary, you make an arrangement with a friend, you turn up at a certain place at a certain time, you know that it's going to happen. And it's important to make space in our diaries and in our lives for habits to happen, to have room to live and breathe. So those are two of the most important things you can do, or decide when and where you're going to do things. Don't be as vague, be specific. If you say that I'm going to drink more water, how exactly will that happen? What about I'm going to drink a glass of water when I wake up, and I'm going to drink a glass of water with my lunch? And you've been really specific about when and where that's going to happen. Another thing you can do is what we call either bundling or stacking. So you use something in your life that already happens, and that becomes your cue for a new habit. So when I unload the dishwasher, I listen to a podcast. When I sit down and have my morning cup of tea, I pray. When I get dressed in the morning, I put my exercise clothes on. When I finish lunch, I have an apple. So what can you use that already exists to be a cue for your healthy habit? What do you do regularly throughout your day that you can attach healthy habits onto? When you brush your teeth, what could you do? You spend about 2 minutes brushing your teeth. What could you do? Could you pray? Could you do a squat? Could you plan your day ahead? Could you meditate on a Bible verse? What could you do at that time? Vision is the biggest sense in a way. It's the one our brain responds to the easiest. And so actually sometimes it's not about wanting a specific thing. It's about wanting what we see. So you'll see all the time that shops, supermarkets, petrol stations are designed with the consumer in mind, so that the company can make money, basically. So in a supermarket, you have things as you go in that you weren't looking for. Because if you go in looking for milk and it's right there, you grab your milk, you pay, you go out. It doesn't work like that. Things like milk and bread, back of the store, to get you going through and seeing other things. Things that you don't want or don't think you want or haven't come into the shop for will be at eye level, will be in the front of the store. You go in, there's some homeware, there's some Easter eggs, even though it's not Easter yet. There's all kinds of things grabbing our attention as soon as we go in. So often it's not that we're going for what we desire, we're going for what we see. So how can you design your environment to be more healthy habit friendly? How can you diminish some of those cues that make you do things that you don't necessarily want to do? And how can you bring out those cues that make you do things that you would like to do? So how can you make things that are healthy and that you want to do more visible and more appealing? It's all about how we design our environment. So we can use willpower, we can use motivation, of course we can, and there's lots of different techniques and tactics we can use to change our habits. But actually, why fight against your environment? Why fight against those cues? So use cues to help you. Use cues to really improve your healthy habits, improve your lifestyle, whether that's time and place, whether that's using an existing thing that already happens to cue you to doing something healthily, and be aware of your environment. And be aware also what cues you into unhealthy habits. So when you pick up your phone to look at the weather or to use a calculator, what happens? Unlikely you just use the calculator and put it down. Unlikely you just look at the weather. Be aware of all those cues that are around you, those things that are calling your name on your phone, those unhealthier options that you can see that are visible, can you make those diminish slightly? And can you bring the other cues up? Because the cue really is the one thing that matters, that starts you off with a habit. So think about your cues, and do share some funny stories about when you've been on automatic pilot and done things that you didn't mean to. That would be great. Lovely to chat to you, and I will see you all soon. Take care.